This is going to be a different type of conversation here, and I'm pretty sure I already lost some of the audience just by the title of this video, but it is what it is. Whatever. This is a conversation that needs to be had. Still. So In the Heights is a movie that came out on HBO Max, and it is based on the very popular play of the same name created by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I always have a hard time saying that really fast. It's like a tongue twister. Lin-Manuel Miranda, and he is mostly known now because of the giant blockbuster that is Hamilton, but he got his start from In the Heights, which I also believe won Tony Awards too. But the movie being called In the Heights, it's about Washington Heights, New York, where the scent of warm coffee hangs in the air just outside of 181st Street subway stop, where a kaleidoscope of dreams rallies a vibrant, tightly knit community. At the intersection of it all is a likable and magnetic bodega owner who hopes and imagines and sings about a better life. And I was excited about this movie really since I saw the trailer last year, because this movie was originally supposed to come out last summer, but coronavirus happened, so a lot of movies ended up being pushed back into this year. So finally, In the Heights is now released. And like I said, I was excited to see this movie because I'm a big musical fan. I like seeing musicals live on Broadway or movie adaptations of musicals. Sometimes they don't translate all that well, like the live action version of Rent. I didn't hate it, but I didn't really care for it that much compared to I actually got to see Rent live on Broadway with the original cast. Like, it was my first time on Broadway. I think it was like 96 or 97. And I also own the final performance, which I love watching this version like every so often, going back to it. And yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about In the Heights, and plus, you know, Hamilton. I'm a fan of I did it again. I am a fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda, and plus he did like the music from Moana, and I love Moana, and I love the music of Moana, so yeah, I was excited. And it took me a while to actually finally get through this whole movie. I've been trying to watch this movie like pretty much since last week. Like, I got a screener for it 2 days before the movie came out, but every time I tried to watch it, I kept falling asleep. Not because the movie was boring or anything like that, but just work. Everybody knows, because I mentioned it several times before. So if you don't know, I work overnight, 11 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. So every time I get home, I try to watch it after work and I fall asleep. Like, even now, I'm forcing myself to stay up to even record this review. Thankfully, I'm a little bit more wide awake, which is why I'm awake now. But anyway, every time I got at least maybe like a good 45 minutes into the movie. And even while watching the movie, I kept noticing, which is why the title of this movie exists. I kept noticing, I'm like, this movie's about Washington Heights. It's about a Latino community. But I'm like, I don't see anybody, at least, and I don't consider myself dark skinned, but I'm like, I don't really see anybody in this cast that's at least my complexion or darker, outside of like Benny, who's not Afro-Latino. And then again, because it took me so long to actually watch the movie, I've seen a whole bunch of people in the Afro-Latinx community complaining about this very same thing. And so I was like, well, since I'm not the only one, I definitely have to like address this in my review. But a really quick 30-second synopsis or review of what I thought about the movie outside of this greater context. I mean, overall, I thought it was decent. Like, I enjoyed the music, I enjoyed the characters and things, but because there were so many different characters to juggle with in this movie, I feel like certain characters did not get as much development in this movie as others. And then also, I don't know, I feel like the songs weren't as catchy as Hamilton. I understand this musical came out first, and I could also see the seeds being planted for what eventually would have become Hamilton, because I also noticed that like a lot of the songs have the same type of Hamilton cadence, which again, it should really be the In the Heights cadence, because again, this came first. But the Hamilton movie on Disney Plus came out first, which is how a lot of the public were introduced to Hamilton, because I wasn't able to get tickets to see it on Broadway, because it's just like before COVID, tickets were like $400+ and I couldn't afford that. And you got the one character, Nina, she's Afro-Latino, but she's one of the very light-skinned Afro-Latino characters in this movie. Like, the whole time I was watching this movie, and you guys, if you've seen my live shows before when I talk about the MCU properties and things like that, or even my very first live that I talked about with Lovecraft Country, Fantastic Frankie, she is Afro-Latina. She's from Washington Heights and lives in New York. And the whole time watching the movie, I was just like, I don't see anybody in this movie that's Frankie's complexion or even darker. And then what put it more in my mind is I just recently started watching Love, Victor, and I'm only on like the first 3 episodes. So there's still more of the show that I have to watch. But it's something that I've noticed even in Love, Victor. And this is something I even complained about in the first season of Love, Victor, where I was like, this show takes place in Atlanta. And I'm like, it's very white, even though Atlanta is majority black. But even in Love, Victor, amongst the main cast, again, so far in these 3 episodes, I was like, I feel like they had just had the paper bag test to see who can be a lead for a black character in Love, Victor. Because every time there's a new black character introduced in Love, Victor, they are light-skinned as hell. And let's talk about the definition of colorism. Let's pull out the laptop. Colorism is prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. Notice it says typically, but white people can express colorism against black people, Afro-Latinx people, yada, yada, yada. But it is something that is very prevalent in lots of communities. But it's something that exists in all communities. Like, think about an actor like Gina Torres. Gina Torres is Afro-Latino. She is Afro-Cuban. And yet, throughout her entire career, most of the time, she's never been allowed to play Latina. She's always had to play black in roles because roles for Afro-Latinx folks did not exist. Every time she went and auditioned for a role for a Latina woman, she was always looked at like, why are you here? You're not Latina. And it's like, yes, she is. Or even somebody like Tessa Thompson. Tessa Thompson is Afro-Latina, but usually when you see her in a movie, she's typically just playing black. Like, they're not even acknowledging her Latina roots. Unless she's like in Thor Ragnarok, then she's Asgardian. She's not black or Afro-Latina. But the same thing happens, you know, with this being Black Gay Comic Geek. The same thing happens in comic book movies as well. Like, you have Storm, who is a dark-skinned black woman in the comics. Then you get to the movies. Not only did they cast Halle Berry, which, I mean, I understand at the time when comic book movies came out, like, getting Halle Berry was like the biggest actress at the time. So, of course, you want to get, like, the biggest black star in your movie to legitimize it. But then when you get to these next movies, like First Class and things like that, they cast Alexandra Shipp. And so yeah, are some of the songs catchy? Absolutely. Am I a fan of Anthony Ramos? Yes, I am. But like, that's just something I couldn't ignore. And then there was an interview where an Afro-Latina interviewer called out the cast and the director asking like, why was there no Afro-Latinx representation within the movie in the main cast? We're not talking about the background dancers and the people that had no names, because there were plenty of darker skinned black folk and probably Latinas in those roles. But the problem isn't just about being in the background, it's about being in the romantic lead or just one of the leads, period. And one of the actors that played Vanessa and even the director was just like, oh, well, we wanted to get the best person, you know, for the roles. And it's like, that's usually the same shit that white people say when they try to justify not casting people of color in their movies. It's like, so you mean to tell me out of all the people that you've seen, there was not one Afro-Latina person that could have been the lead? Then on top of that, like, okay, let's give you that. Let's say out of the people that you auditioned, there was none. How far was your net? How far did you cast your net to look for these people? Probably not that far if that was the case. And then even throwing it back to comics, because you know, that's my wheelhouse. That's the stuff I love to talk about. Like, it happens even in comic books. Like, I think I mentioned this before in one of my videos. I don't know if it was TikTok or on here on YouTube. Maybe it was even both. But this right here is the character of Sunspot, Roberto da Costa. He is an Afro-Brazilian. And when he was first introduced in comics, he was bullied, not for being a mutant. He was bullied because he is black. He is dark-skinned. They even called his father and him a monkey in his first comic book panel. But it seemed like the more popular his character got in comics, the more lighter his skin tone became and the more his features started to morph and become less African, less Afro-Brazilian in the comics. So it's like, sure, if you're not thinking about this stuff, can you enjoy In the Heights? Yeah, you could. And I mean, I see it has like a 96 or 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm pretty sure most of those people were white people. Like, let's be honest. Or they were the more white-passing Hispanic folk. They were the people that were represented in this movie. All I talk about on this channel is representation. Representation matters. It's why I put myself out on the internet as Black Gay Comic Geek, because representation fucking matters. And so, yeah, like, can you enjoy this? In a vacuum, is this movie enjoyable? Yes, but it's something that I just couldn't let go and I couldn't stop thinking about. And it's more than likely, because I just mentioned it, it's something that I'm going to still be thinking about while I'm watching fucking Love, Victor, Victor, just like I thought about it when I watched season 1. So that's the end of this. I mean, but if I were to rate In the Heights without all of that backing, I would say it was a high breaking even. Because like I said, there were characters that you didn't really get that much of a connection to. And I don't know, I didn't feel as much for the characters that I felt for like Hamilton, for example. And then on top of that, you know, this, I guess I did say I was taking this all out, but then I'm thinking about it more because I'm thinking about something that Fantastic Frankie said in one of her TikTok videos, which makes me a little bit even more upset while I was watching this movie, because I don't have any familiarity with the original In the Heights musical, but they knew exactly what they were doing, because there's a storyline in the Heights where Benny isn't accepted by his girlfriend's parents, specifically her father, because he's black. They took that whole storyline out, which opens up another can of worms of like representation, not representation, but colorism within the Afro-Latinx community, which is very problematic. Hell, colorism in all community. Like if you're a dark-skinned Asian, people like your own community hates you. Like think about what happened. There was an Afro-Japanese girl that won, I believe she won Miss Japan, or she got close to winning Miss Japan, and the Japanese people shunned her because of that. But basically anti-blackness is universal. Whether you're black, whether you're Latinx, like think about how they treat black, dark Afro-Latinx people in Telemundo. Either you're a prostitute or you're a drug dealer, but you're never the main character. But yeah, I'm not gonna continue to drone on this whole thing, but I guess if I would have rated it in a vacuum, I would probably say it's a high breaking even. Cause yeah, was it catchy? Was it enjoyable? Yeah, it was. But like, is it something that I would like run to watch again? Probably not. And the songs weren't as catchy as, again, like Hamilton. I'm not going back singing the song. Like if I'm done with the musical and I'm not singing the songs after the musical is over, then I consider not a failure, but I consider that kind of a failure. And I didn't hate the movie, but I'm not singing any of maybe the one song, In the Heights, day. That's the only one that I would probably say is stuck in my head. One song out of like a whole musical. But Hamilton, I am not throwing away my shot. I am not. That's like in my head, like still. I am young. Wait, fuck. Wait, I am just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I'ma get it anyway. I'ma end. So yeah. Anyway, but if you can hit that thumbs up button, it'll really help out with this channel. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's probably gonna be people that hit the thumbs down button, but whatever you hit, give me the engagement. I really appreciate it. It'll really help out with the YouTube algorithm and getting my channel out there and this video out there. And if this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.